the front page story on The Sun, Waste 101. Let's see, there are federal government studies, folks, involving your taxpayers, sometimes into the six figures, grocery cart life cycles, gender identities of Harry Potter fans, are kinky people flourishing, gender politics of Peruvian rock music. Franco, I thought today was Halloween. It kind of feels like April Fool's Day. What is going on here?
Yeah, well, look, every day taxpayers are the punchline in Ottawa, right? Every day we are the fools and they're spending our money. At least that's what the politicians seem to think. Look, some of these research grants that the federal government is funding with our money is absolutely insane. You mentioned a couple of them, right? $100,000, folks, taken from your pockets to fund this study about the life, birth, and death of a grocery cart. You know what? Like $100,000 for that? Like, I got a better idea. Why don't you phone up Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys? You can get that study done for a couple pepperoni sticks, right? Or how about $8,000 studying gender identities in online Harry Potter fan communities? Like, David, what a waste of money, right? We all know J.K. Rowling's stance on gender is pretty firm, and also grown-up Harry Potter nerds never get laid. So I don't know why the government is spending $8,000 on this. But look, there's a whole bunch of other ones, folks. Check out the story. But a study, The Rhetoric of a Selfie. $94,000. Isn't that nice? How about this one? Advancing gender equity, mobility justice, and sustainable development through bicycles. $24,000. It goes on and on and on.
It's unbelievable. And some of these studies are about issues in other countries, like, you know, the Peruvian gender politics and their rock music. You know, here's how bad it is, Franco. I don't give a rodent's rectum except for the fact that my tax money is being used to fund this. But I bet you people in Peru don't care either. I mean, what is the way these studies get funded in the first place? Are these cronies that have connections with the Liberal Party?
Well, I'm not going to speculate. Here's what I do know, okay? So this money is going out through out the door through a little known, let's call it a slush fund. I'm going to call it a slush fund. It's the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council, okay? Most of your viewers, even though they may be very plugged in, probably have never heard about this. But hold on a second, folks. It takes more than $1 billion from Canadian taxpayers every single year, right? So this SSHRC, it's about the same cost of the CBC to taxpayers every single year. And look, this is on top of the $17 billion the government sends to the provinces through the Canada Social Transfer. This is on top of the billions of dollars that provincial governments send to post-secondary institutions. Like, here's what this Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council is to me, right? It seems like it's little more than a slush fund so that the government can give academics or researchers more of taxpayers' cash so that they can, work on their pet projects that really the vast majority of Canadians don't care about and doesn't impact our lives in a beneficial way.
That's outrageous. And Rod, let's go to you. The first line item, grocery cart life cycles. You know, I think the people who would care about that, I don't know, Loblaws, Costco, Walmart, I mean, that's part of their investment. So why not have them do the grocery cart life cycle studies? They're multi-billion-dollar corporations. Why are we taking this money out of the taxpayer trough to fund something that those who invest in grocery carts should be investing in?
Well, why would they pay for it themselves when they have a government that is all it takes is a couple of handshakes and the taxpayer will put that on their credit card, right? Because remember, we are in massive deficit. So this is likely borrowed money. So I think Canadians have become so desensitized to this kind of thing. They're desensitized and beat down about everything. So it's really, I mean, I'm sure Franco has experienced this. You know, it's really difficult to get anyone angry and motivated anymore because it's so much. I mean, Loblaws, for the size of business that they are, being part of a conglomeration, they don't even pay for their own freezers in some stores. If you remember, they ended up getting money, to modernize their cooling. So it's a mess.
You know, great point, Rod, because I remember that. I think I'm going by memory, it was like $14 million. And on one hand, you wouldn't be doing your duty as the board of Weston Corporation if you weren't taking advantage of this gifting. But that's the point. It shouldn't be there for a company the size of Loblaws, a Leviathan, to take advantage of in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny because for the last 10 years, we've been told that Canada had no actual culture, right? That we're just this empty husk of a society looking for enrichment abroad, right? But back in the old days, I'm very old, but when I was younger, there was a sense of national pride where you wouldn't take any kind of social program. You wouldn't take grants if you didn't need them. That was a cultural thing that existed in Canada in my day, and that is long gone. It's every corporation for themselves and every politician for themselves, and actually every judge for themselves too. So it's a strange time in Canadian history.
100%. Drea, I know we're supposed to be in a standoffish mode with the United States of America, given the tariff tiff. But I'll tell you one thing. I would love to see a Canadian version of Elon Musk and a Canadian version of Doge, because, as Franco's organization reveals around about Halloween every year, there is so much wasteful spending. On one hand, it's humorous, but believe me, as a taxpayer inside, I'm crying.
Well, the trick is definitely on us when you look at this. And speaking of, having our own Doge, remember Rebel News tried to do that. We actually have a website called exposethewaste.com where you can go and look at all of this ridiculous spending our government is doing for the craziest things like you've mentioned there as well. And that's also, provinces are also broken down. So I encourage people to go there, because that's the first step, is people just actually paying attention. And because we haven't been paying attention, this is why it keeps happening. Something that stood out to me in this article is that at this point, lower down, it says the CTF couldn't even unearth one of the publisher's report from Smith. So they gave $21,000 for a study that was supposed to be called "We Are All Astronauts." And then they couldn't even find the study. But you know what? There was a little skip put on, so I guess it's all good. We see that happen. We saw that with the unmarked graves, where millions, I should say unmarked grave discovery claims that with no bodies found yet, but millions were handed out based on the claim with the expectation that they would go ahead and excavate, and almost all of them didn't. And the ones that did, of course, there was no bodies.
Well, that is scandalous, Drea. And what's the reason for we can't get the astronaut study? The dog ate the homework. But even the studies that Franco and his team can uncover, here's my question. Who in blue hell is reading them? I bet you it's a single-digit number, if that.
Well, hey, and let me jump in here, because on the this slush funds like raison d'etre, right, on this government website, it talks about funding the reports that matter most to Canadians. Really? You're going to tell me right now, where Canadians are struggling to afford groceries, rent, even bottle or baby formula for their young ones, that this is what Canadians care about most, right? Grocery cart studies about intersectional piano curriculums, right? Studies about how we are all astronauts. No, I don't buy that at all. This is not what Canadians care most about. As I mentioned before, no, this is just a slush fund to give these researchers and academics more of taxpayers' money to write on their own pet projects that nobody reads.
Well, it's, my favorite Yiddish word springs to mind, chutzpah, sheer unmitigated gall. And that's what this is. And if you really want to study this, you know what? Study it on your own tab. But